Welcome to the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast, where our goal is to help you increase your reputation as a leader, increase your ability to influence others, and increase your ability to fully engage your team to deliver remarkable results. Hi, I'm Perry Holly, a Maxwell Leadership Facilitator and Coach.
And I'm Chris Cody, Executive Vice President with Maxwell Leadership. Welcome and thank you for joining. If you're interested in Perry and I addressing a comment on a podcast futuristically, I'd love for you to go visit maxwellleadership.com/podcast. There's a form there. You can fill that out. Perry and I actually bring a lot of this to you from what we're experiencing and what we're helping leaders with.
Over 90%. Yeah.
And what we're dealing with personally. So we'd love to help you with any of that. If you're interested in some executive coaching, anything that we can serve you with, if you'll visit that website and fill out that form, we'll get back in touch with you. Well, today's topic, I love this word. Today's topic, we're going to talk about the miracle skill of curiosity. Now, I'm intrigued about the miracle skill. We'll get to that in just a minute. But I do love the word curiosity as a leader. I think it's an important skill that we should really possess and develop on a continual basis. Now, why do you call it the miracle skill?
I just have looked at everything that we're trying to teach, and especially 5 levels about developing influence with people. I'm a senior leader. I've got all this positional power, and I've got the title, but I really want to develop relationships and influence with people. And I'm just finding that without curiosity, it just comes back to it's the miracle skill that says if I can just be curious, it drives humility, it drives teachableness, it drives approachableness. It to me in so many ways that if I'm not curious, I tend not to listen so much. I tend to talk more. I tend to not ask many questions. I tend to think I have all the answers. I tend to think I'm the only. You just do what I say, and it just without curiosity, I feel like it drives me back to being the boss, level 1. With curiosity, it helps me engage the team, engage the minds of the team, and it helps take us to innovation, creativity, and change are invoked through curiosity. Have I made my case? Yeah, are you on board? Are you with me? Can I get an amen?
I almost feel like this ought to be inspiring leaders. I feel like I'm inspired after that. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I think even those that are listening or watching, you can just feel Perry's intensity about this. But what it is I was just thinking about this. You have spent so much time lately on a course we just created for teams and for organizations, and it is turning a lot of heads and helping a lot of people. And it's the generational diversity, and it's based off of Tim Elmore's new book, New Kind of Diversity. I would encourage you. I gave you the maxwellleadership.com/podcast early in the episode. If you're interested in learning more about that generational diversity development and that course for your team, I'd encourage you to go fill out that form, make a note that you want to know a little bit more about that, and we'll get in touch with you in regards to that. But you've been in this and immersed in it. Matter of fact, just yesterday, you spent an entire day with 30 plus people talking about this topic and the power of it. And so I think being curious, especially when there's so many different generations in the workforce, is really the only way that we can learn, grow, and influence. And so I've heard you talk about the shifts that curiosity enables leaders. So let me talk about a couple of these shifts, and I'm going to throw it back to you and let you respond off of that. Right. So these shifts make us more teachable and more approachable. And so we are able to shift from, when we're curious, shift from telling to asking. We're able to shift from judging to accepting. We can shift from blaming to non-blaming. We can shift from excluding to including. And then finally, we're able to shift, when we're curious, from one perspective to diverse perspectives.
Yeah, and one thing that got me on this topic was we were talking about curiosity, and I wasn't totally bought into it. And I thought definitely it's a skill. It's better to have it than not have it. But I just said, so all you were talking about is asking more questions, right? So you're just saying I should ask more questions. They said, isn't that what curiosity means? And they said, no, it's not. This was what blew my head up. They said, when you're asking questions, you're trying to get the other person to tell you they know something, to prove they know something. But if you're curious, you're trying to learn something. And I just thought about that for a bit. I go, wow. And I'm in the professional question asking
Yes,
business.
you are.
And I'm asking a lot of questions trying to get you to prove that you know something when I could actually use the exact same question. And you can either preface it with, I'm curious. Tell me how you got into this line of work. I'm not trying to get you to prove you know how you got into this line of work. I really am interested. I'm kind of curious. I want to learn about you. How did you get into this line of work? And so it'll be the exact same words, but my tone and my delivery when I'm curious, he always says, I wonder, how did you solve this problem with our customer? I'm curious. How did you come up with that?
Yeah.
Not, how'd you come up with that answer? Just prove it to me. No, I'm curious.
Yeah.
I want to learn for myself. So
Yeah.
I think when you are curious, you send a message to the team that while I have a point of view, and I'm pretty sure it's a good point of view because it's mine, I'm interested in your point of view.
Yeah.
And I would like to hear from you. I'm teachable was the big word for me there. And it encourages the people on my team to have a point of view because they know when I come, I'm going to say, I'm curious. How would you do this if you were me?
Yeah.
I'm curious. Does this fit into the way you see our direction that we're going? And it just enhances the engagement that I have with the team. I think it improves productivity because people come prepared. They know that I'm not just going to rubber stamp things. I want to be curious. Are we moving in the right direction? Are we doing the right things? Could there be a better way? I'm open to your thoughts. It just has so many. It's the miracle.
Yeah, I love it. I really wondered how you came up with that, but I agree. And it's funny. As you were talking, I'm like, man, you do that all the time, and I see you live this out. We could be anywhere. We could be in a meeting with one other individual. We could be with our team. We could be with a client in the organization. And you go, hey, I do have a point of view, but I would love to know your point of view, right? And it's not because you want their point of view and then you're going to change your point of view. You truly are curious and want to understand kind of where they're coming from. So I see you live that out. I love that.
Do it at home too, because I can be, I've been told I can be intimidating. But I don't mean to be. So that's what I say, making people feel something. Maybe if I just became more curious, and I can't remember if it comes up here, but Tim Elmore said, you can talk like you're right, but listen like you're wrong.
That's so good.
Could I just be more, I have a point of view, but I'm curious. What's your point of view? And then I listen to you talk as if, teach me. I could be wrong. And I thought, well, when Tim said that here on this podcast table, I was, whoa, that is huge.
There's a huge
humility,
difference. There's a huge difference between asking questions and being curious. I love that. So let's jump in and talk about, well, how do we improve the skill of curiosity? The first one that we want you to understand is that curious leaders must develop their self-awareness. And fully self-aware leaders are, aware of their strengths and their weaknesses. Didn't happen by chance, or it wasn't easy, but they become aware of that. They've grown and learned that. And while they may know many things, they don't know everything. And so we need to make sure that from a posture of, man, we want to grow, we want to learn, and I think John says it something of this, which is, hey, when I'm done learning, I'm done, right? Like I'm going to learn till the day that I'm done. And I think that's just a posture we have to have. And so part of that is learning about yourself. And so you must continue, if you're going to be curious, to develop your self-awareness.
Hello, this is John C. Maxwell. I've been teaching leadership for over 40 years. We're gathering in Atlanta for our 10th Live to Lead Leadership Conference Friday, October the 6th. And I want to personally invite you to join us. Live to Lead is about empowering you to live out leadership, not just learn it. World-class leaders, Kendra Scott and Marcus Buckingham and Ryan Leake, will be joining me to impart wisdom, inspire change, and help you lead more effectively. Hey, bring your team. Groups of 10 or more receive a significant discount. So let's grow together, because leadership isn't a solo journey, it's best experienced in community with others. Visit livetolead.com today, and let's make leadership a lived experience.
Yeah, I think this to me is this alone just drives teachability, that you are self-aware enough to know that your own strengths and your own weaknesses. You also know your effect on other people, and you know what you bring and what you don't bring to the conversation.
Yeah.
And so I love this ability by being curious to say, go back to talk like I'm right. I think I'm right, but I could be wrong. It's that self-awareness that I have some strengths, but I also have some weaknesses. I also have some blind spots, and I'm aware of that, even though I may not be aware of every blind spot. I know I have them. So if I could just be curious and listen more and understand your point of view, I might learn something about myself.
Yeah.
But you have to be self-aware to do that. Another thing is that curious leaders are really never satisfied with the status quo. They embrace that curiosity of asking, I wonder how we can improve this. I'm curious, how do you see this? Could we do this better? You're really good at that. I know you have a strong point of view on how we do things, but you never stop there. You always, and we have this smart team that we work on, and you're asking the people that handle the administrative side, you're asking the people that are in front of the customers, you're asking, how can we do this better? I'm curious, what's your point of view?
Yeah. We talk about change as leaders and as we lead teams. And one of the ways that you can never be satisfied with status quo is always be thinking about, not for just change's sake, but how do we change what we're doing in order to continue to get better and strive to be able to do that. Another idea to increase your curiosity is to create a learning culture. Leaders with curious mindset view every experience, good, bad, whatever it might be, as a learning experience. I love this. John, even down to his grandkids, they go on vacation once a year. And it is a great time, a family time, but he's like, what did you learn? Let's evaluate the experience. I know we all had a lot of fun. Let's evaluate it now. And what did we learn? I think also when you think about this, let's go back to this question, asking questions. We do need to ask questions. They're essential into uncovering. I think it's the tone and the posture and the thought behind those questions that are really driving the curiosity, so that we can then learn, grow, not settle for status quo, but then continue to have a better outcome. One of the questions that I wrote down here that I was thinking about in creating a learning culture is, we talk a lot about, hey, we do we kind of diagnose when we're working on things, we're doing things, we go through projects. One of the questions I would challenge us to start thinking about as listeners and our viewers is, as you go through these projects or things you're working on as a company, ask this question once it's over with. What happened on this project that we did not expect? Right? Like, that's a different question than saying, hey, what drove the outcome? Whatever. Like that just a small little change to a question really begins to go, I think that, not that I'm good at making when you get people thinking that way, like that's being curious in the questions you're asking.
We talk about the AAR, the after action review, but we hardly ever do it when we win. we do it when we lose, but what made it work and how can we have made it better, even if we were successful? And it gets people, I think, by developing this culture of curiosity, that it causes people not to fear failure as much, or to fear making a mistake. We're going to do the AAR, we're going to learn from it, and we're not going to make that mistake again. But it says, by being curious, I say, well, I wonder if we tried it this way. Oh, what if that failed? Well, don't be curious. Just do what you're told.
Right.
No, I really want you to do that. Yeah. I think another way to increase your curiosity is to increase the diversity of your team. Yeah. We talk a lot about diversity, equity, inclusion, these types of things, but leaders who really embrace the diversity of the team, and build a team of diverse people that are complementary to their own, but not the same. They're not like me. You can naturally be more curious because you're dealing with differences. Yeah. You think differently than me. You have a different come from than me. You have a different background than me. You have a different thought process than me. But if I have everybody like me, I don't really need to be curious because I already know how you think. If I really have a diverse team, the one way I can make them feel included, valued, like they belong, is to be curious and say, tell me how you see this.
Yeah.
How does your background, how would you handle this? What is your thought process on that?
Yeah.
Now I'm teachable again.
That makes me go back to something you've shared here on our podcast before about one of your early on experiences in a boardroom where your leader was like, well, Perry, if you think just like me, One of us is not needed. I'll let you guess who that is. The security team will escort you out. But, I was thinking about our team, and we have an individual on our team that thinks differently than I do. And you've been instrumental, kind of in mediating both sides of it, right? You're like, hey, you might need to pipe down a little bit there when you give Chris. And you're like, Chris, you probably ought to listen to some of the things. But what's been really good for me, and I absolutely love this individual and the way that they think and bring ideas, but it's diverse. It's different than most of the makeup of my team. And it's really challenged the way and we're better because of it, 100%. Yeah. And I hope she's better because of your coaching of how to communicate to me about it. But I have found myself going, man, like, that's interesting. Tell me more. Like, okay, what are you thinking about here? Well, how did that work? And brings a great perspective and allows me to be a little bit more curious in that on the team. Well, another one that we want to talk to you about increasing your curiosity is develop your active listening skills. And man, when curiosity shows itself, it's really truly the way that you listen. And when we talk about active listening, to your point, you can just ask a normal question and sit there and listen. But if you're going to be curious, you got to be engaged in that listening to dig more. And to your point just a minute ago, tell me more. And you really want to do it so that you're understanding, so that you can respond to them. And
yeah, I've some of my favorite active listening tools are phrases like "Tell me more," "What happened next?" "Then what did you do?" And it reminds me to not get in such a hurry for my turn to talk. And so, am I really listening? Do I know the best next question to ask to draw the learning from this person? And I tell you the truth, this is the big truth that you really would help with your curiosity building, is that if you believe in your mindset, your heart set is that I can learn something from every person I meet. Doesn't matter what their stature in life, what their position, what they do for a living, how much money they do, I can learn from everyone I meet. I had knee surgery a few weeks ago. I was in PT first time this week, and I had this young kid. And my first thought was, what does he know? What could he possibly know? And then I had this thought. I've been working on this lesson, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to engage. And first of all, I'm making him feel something. What am I making him feel? So I smiled and greeted him, and he was actually from another country, so it made the communication was a little difficult at first. But then I thought, how can I be curious? So finding out where was his family from, and then how did he get into this line of work? Realizing he was not as young as he appeared. He was actually pretty good at it. He knew his stuff. And then I started realizing, what can I learn from him? Which I thought was, I went in and I would not, but because I want to be more curious and thinking, I can learn something from every single person I meet. If I have that attitude, it just naturally ratchets up your natural curiosity.
Yeah, I love that. Well, listen, as we wrap up, I was sitting here listening to you and I was thinking about this. We are in the people business. And so all the examples we talked about from around curiosity were around engaging people and asking questions. There are so many resources out there for us when it comes to growth and personal growth, for you to be curious. Get outside of your industry to learn more. What I mean by that is go learn and be curious about how people are doing things that may work, inside your business. Be curious in everything that you're doing, your personal life, your professional life, engaging with people, but then also as you begin to have a personal growth plan. And what does that look like? Be curious of how people are doing things a little bit different instead of, just going along with the status quo. The other thing I'll as I kind of wrap up, I think this is one of two things in regards to competencies that leaders need to really, really focus on. I know that you called it a miracle skill, and it would be a miracle, literally, no pun intended, if we all became a little bit more curious. And we talk about we as human beings will judge people, by their actions without even being curious. We don't know what their intent was. Right. And so I would just challenge everybody that's listening to think about how do we become more curious. And the other thing is that I talk about often is how do we become more consistent? So it's the CCs. That's what I'm going to leave you with.
I love it.
How do we become more consistent in how we treat people, how we lead people, how we grow, and then how do we be more curious about the people that are around us, what we want to learn from them, and how we grow. And so if you take anything away from Perry and I bringing this lesson to you, man, be more consistent and be more curious.
I love it. Consistency is one of my favorite words. Well, thank you, Chris. And just a reminder, if you'd like the learner guide for this episode, if you'd like to leave a comment or a question for us, you can do that all at maxwellleadership.com/podcast. You can also learn about our offerings, and the other podcasts in our podcast family can be found there. We love hearing from you. We're very grateful you'd spend this time with us. That's all today from the Maxwell Leadership Executive Podcast.